Welcome back to Another World Audiobooks. I am so excited to bring you guys this chapter. Man, this book has been so much fun. I've been just loving narrating it, and I hope you've been enjoying it as well. We've been getting a lot of interaction, so just want to give a few people a couple quick shout-outs. First off, of course, huge shout out to our patrons. We're up to 3, and I'm looking to get to that magical 12 mark so we don't have to chop chapters in half anymore. But thank you so much to Ariella, Sharon, and Dimitra for supporting the podcast through Patreon. So appreciated. If you want to become a citizen of Another World, just go to anotherworldaudiobooks.com and click on Become a Citizen, and you can sign up right there. Super easy, and a lot of cool perks for doing that. Speaking of which, Dimitra, get in touch with me. I want to get you your Another World Audiobook sticker there. So excited to send that off to you. Also, huge shout out to some of our YouTube commenters. We had Dehydrated Water 9806 who left a few comments. Sound like they wanted we're asking for a playlist of this book, which I forgot to do. So thank you for the reminder there. Sound like they're enjoying the book, and also to Randy Hodges, who left a comment there, as well as Hafsa, who left a comment on YouTube. I'm so excited to get that interaction there. It always just makes my day to hear from you guys commenting on the podcast. If you want to join the conversation, head over to YouTube. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. I'm really hoping to get us to that 1,000 subscriber mark, which would be super cool. Also on Spotify, there is a way to interact with the podcast. You can leave comments on shows. So make sure to check that out. It just makes my day to hear from people, and makes it feel more like a conversation versus me just talking into a microphone every time. So thank you guys so much for commenting and for sharing the show with those who might enjoy a free audiobook. I love being able to put these out, and I'm so glad that people are loving this book so far. I'm sure loving it, and let's get into it. Without further ado, I don't want to take any more time to give you the first part of Chapter 6 here in Arsene Lupin versus Herlock Sholmes. Chapter 6. Second arrest of Arsene Lupin. Since 8 o'clock, a dozen moving vans had encumbered the Rue Crevaux between the Avenue du Bois de Boulogne and the Avenue Bugeaud. Monsieur Felix Davy was leaving the apartment in which he lived on the 4th floor of number 8, and Monsieur Dubray, who had united into a single apartment the 5th floor of the same house and the 5th floor of the 2 adjoining houses, was moving the same day, a mere coincidence since the gentlemen were unknown to each other, a vast collection of furniture, regarding which so many foreign agents visited him every day. A circumstance which had been noticed by some of the neighbours, but was not spoken of until later, was this. None of the 12 vans bore the name and address of the owner, and none of the men accompanying them visited the neighbouring wine shops. They worked so diligently that the furniture was all out by 11 o'clock. Nothing remained but those scraps of paper and rags that are always left behind in the corners of the empty rooms. Monsieur Felix Davy, an elegant young man, dressed in the latest fashion, carried in his hand a walking stick, the weight of which indicated that its owner possessed extraordinary biceps. Monsieur Felix Davy walked calmly away, and took a seat on a bench in the Avenue du Bois de Boulogne, facing the Rue Pergolesi. Close to him, a woman, dressed in a neat but inexpensive costume, was reading a newspaper, whilst a child was playing with a shovel in a heap of sand. After a few minutes, Felix Davy spoke to the woman without turning his head. "Ganimard?"
"Went out at 9 o'clock this morning."
"Where?"
"To police headquarters."
"Alone?"
"Yes."
"No telegram during the night?"
"No."
"Do they suspect you in the house?"
"No, I do some little things for Madame Ganimard, and she tells me everything her husband does. I have been with her all morning."
"Very well. Until further orders, come here every day at 11 o'clock. He rose and walked away in the direction of the Dauphine Gate, stopping at the Chinese pavilion, where he partook of a frugal repast consisting of 2 eggs, with some fruit and vegetables. Then he returned to the Rue Crevaux, and said to the concierge, "I will just glance through the rooms and then give you the keys." He finished his inspection of the room that he had used as a library. Then he seized the end of a gas pipe which hung down the side of the chimney. The pipe was bent, and a hole made in the elbow. To this hole he fitted a small instrument in the form of an ear trumpet and blew into it. A slight whistling sound came by way of reply. Placing the trumpet to his mouth, he said, "Anyone around, Dubray?"
"No."
"May I come up?"
"Yes."
He returned the pipe to its place, saying to himself, "How progressive we are. Our century abounds with little inventions which render life really charming and picturesque, and so amusing,
especially when a person knows how to enjoy life as I do. He turned one of the marble mouldings of the mantel, and the entire half of the mantel moved, and the mirror above it glided in invisible grooves, disclosing an opening and the lower steps of a stair built in the very body of the chimney. All very clean and complete, the stairs were constructed of polished metal, and the walls of white tiles. He ascended the steps, and at the 5th floor there was the same opening in the chimney. Monsieur Dubray was waiting for him.
"Have you finished your rooms?
Yes.
Everything cleared out?
Yes.
And the people?"
Only the 3 men on guard.
"Very well. Come on."
They ascended to the upper floor by the same means, one after the other, and there found 3 men, one of whom was looking through the window. Anything new?
"Nothing, Governor."
All quiet in the street?
"Yes."
In 10 minutes I will be ready to leave. You will go also, but in the meantime, if you see the least suspicious movement in the street, warn me.
"I have my finger on the alarm bell all the time."
Dubray, did you tell the moving men not to touch the wire of that bell?
"Certainly. It is working all right."
That is what I want to know. The 2 gentlemen then descended to the apartment of Felix Davy, and the latter, after adjusting the marble mantel, exclaimed joyfully, "Dubray, I should like to see the man who is able to discover all the ingenious devices, warning bells, networks of electric wires and acoustic tubes, invisible passages, moving floors, and hidden stairways. A real fairyland."
"What fame for Arsene Lupin."
"Fame I could well dispense with. It's a pity to be compelled to leave a place so well equipped and commence all over again. Dubray, and on a new model, of course, for it would never do to duplicate this. Curse Herlock Sholmes."
"Has he returned to Paris?"
"How could he? There has been only 1 boat come from Southampton, and it left there at midnight. Only 1 train from Havre, leaving there at 8 o'clock this morning and due in Paris at 11:15. As he could not catch the midnight boat at Southampton, and the instructions to the captain on that point were explicit, he cannot reach France until this evening via New Haven and Dieppe."
"Do you think he will come back?"
"Yes, he never gives up. He will return to Paris, but it will be too late. We will be far away."
"And Mademoiselle Destange?"
"I am to see her in an hour."
"At her house?"
"Oh, no. She will not return there for several days. But you, Dubray, you must hurry. The loading of our goods will take a long time, and you should be there to look after them."
"Are you sure that we are not being watched?"
"By whom? I am not afraid of anyone but Sholmes." Dubray retired. Felix Davy made a last tour of the apartment, picked up 2 or 3 torn letters, then, noticing a piece of chalk, he took it and, on the dark paper of the drawing-room, drew a large frame, and wrote within it the following. Arsene Lupin, gentleman burglar, lived here for 5 years at the beginning of the 20th century. This little pleasantry seemed to please him very much. He looked at it for a moment, whistling a lively air, then said to himself, "Now that I have placed myself in touch with the historians of future generations, I can go. You must hurry, Herlock Sholmes, as I shall leave my present abode in 3 minutes, and your defeat will be an accomplished fact. 2 minutes more. You are keeping me waiting, Monsieur Sholmes. 1 minute more. Are you not coming? Well then, I proclaim your downfall and my apotheosis. And now I make my escape. Farewell, kingdom of Arsene Lupin. I shall never see you again. Farewell to the 55 rooms of the 6 apartments over which I reigned. Farewell, my own royal bedchamber." His outburst of joy was interrupted by the sharp ringing of a bell, which stopped twice, started again, and then ceased. It was the alarm bell. What was wrong? What unforeseen danger? Ganimard? No, that wasn't possible. He was on the point of returning to his library and making his escape, but first he went to the window. There was no one in the street. Was the enemy already in the house? He listened and thought he could discern certain confused sounds. He hesitated no longer. He ran to his library, and as he crossed the threshold, he heard the noise of a key being inserted in the lock of the vestibule door. "The deuce!" he murmured. "I have no time to lose. The house may be surrounded. The servants' stairway? Impossible. Fortunately, there is the chimney." He pushed the moulding. It did not move. He made a greater effort. Still, it refused to move. At the same time, he had the impression that the door below opened and that he could hear footsteps. "Good God!" he cried. "I am lost to this cursed mechanism!" He pushed with all his strength. Nothing moved. Nothing. By some incredible accident, by some evil stroke of fortune, the mechanism, which had worked only a few moments ago, would not work now. He was furious. The block of marble remained immovable. He uttered frightful imprecations on the senseless stone. Was his escape to be prevented by that stupid obstacle? He struck the marble wildly, madly. He hammered it. He cursed it.
"Ah, what's the matter, Monsieur Lupin? You seem to be displeased about something."
Lupin turned around. Herlock Sholmes stood before him. Herlock Sholmes. Lupin gazed at him with squinting eyes, as if his sight were defective and misleading. Herlock Sholmes in Paris. Herlock Sholmes, whom he had shipped to England only the day before as a dangerous person, now stood before him, free and victorious. Such a thing was nothing less than a miracle. It was contrary to all natural laws. It was the culmination of all that is illogical and abnormal. Herlock Sholmes here, before his face. And when the Englishman spoke, his words were tinged with that keen sarcasm and mocking politeness with which his adversary had so often lashed him. He said, "Monsieur Lupin, in the first place, I have the honor to inform you that at this time and place I blot from my memory forever all thoughts of the miserable night you forced me to endure in the house of Baron d'Autrec, of the injury done to my friend Wilson, of my abduction in the automobile, and of the voyage I took yesterday under your orders, bound to a very uncomfortable couch. But the joy of this moment effaces all those bitter memories. I forgive everything. I forget everything. I wipe out your debt. I am paid, and royally paid." Lupin made no reply, so the Englishman continued. "Don't you think so yourself?" He appeared to insist, as if demanding an acquiescence, as a sort of receipt in regard to the part. After a moment's reflection, during which the Englishman felt that he was scrutinized to the very depth of his soul, Lupin declared, "I presume, monsieur, that your conduct is based upon serious motives?" "Very serious." "The fact that you have escaped from my captain and his crew is only a secondary incident of our struggle. But the fact that you are here before me alone, understand, alone, face to face with Arsene Lupin, leads me to think that your revenge is as complete as possible." "As complete as possible." "This house?" "Surrounded." "The two adjoining houses?" "Surrounded." "The apartment above this?" "The 3 apartments on the 5th floor that were formerly occupied by Monsieur Dubray are surrounded." So that you are captured, Monsieur Lupin. Absolutely captured." The feelings that Sholmes had experienced during his trip in the automobile were now suffered by Lupin. The same concentrated fury, the same revolt, and also, let us admit, the same loyalty of submission to force of circumstances. Equal bravery in victory or defeat. "Our accounts are squared, monsieur," said Lupin frankly. The Englishman was pleased with that confession. After a short silence, Lupin, now quite self-possessed, said, smiling, "And I am not sorry. It becomes monotonous to win all the time. Yesterday I had only to stretch out my hand to finish you forever. Today I belong to you. The game is yours." Lupin laughed heartily, and then continued, "At least the gallery will be entertained. Lupin in prison. How will he get out? In prison? What an adventure! Ah, Sholmes, life is just one damn thing after another." He pressed his closed hands to his temples, as if to suppress the tumultuous joy that surged within him, and his actions indicated that he was moved by an uncontrollable mirth. At last, when he had recovered his self-possession, he approached the detective and said, "And now, What are you waiting for?"
"What am I waiting for?"
"Yes, Ganimard is here with his men. Why don't they come in?"
"I asked him not to."
"And he consented?"
"I accepted his services on condition that he would be guided by me. Besides, he thinks that Felix Davy is only an accomplice of Arsene Lupin."
"Then I will repeat my question in another form. Why did you come in alone?"
"Because I wish to speak to you alone."
"Aha! You have something to say to me?"
That idea seemed to please Lupin immensely. There are certain circumstances in which words are preferable to deeds.
"Monsieur Sholmes, I am sorry I cannot offer you an easy chair. How would you like that broken box? Or perhaps you would prefer the window ledge. I am sure a glass of beer would be welcome, light or dark. But sit down, please."
"Thank you. We can talk as well standing up."
"Very well. Proceed."
"I will be brief. The object of my sojourn in France was not to accomplish your arrest. If I have been led to pursue you, it was because I saw no other way to achieve my real object."
"Which was?"
"To recover the blue diamond."
"The blue diamond?"
"Certainly, since the one found in Herr Bleichen's tooth powder was only an imitation."
"Quite right. The genuine diamond was taken by the blonde lady. I made an exact duplicate of it, and then, as I had designs on other jewels belonging to the Countess, and as the consul Herr Bleichen was already under suspicion, the aforesaid blonde lady, in order to avert suspicion, slipped the false stone into the aforesaid consul's luggage."
"While you kept the genuine diamond?"
"Of course."
"That diamond. I want it."
"I am very sorry, but it is impossible."
"I have promised it to the Countess de Crozon. I must have it."
"How will you get it, since it is in my possession?"
"That is precisely the reason, because it is in your possession."
"Oh, I am to give it to you?"
"Yes."
"Voluntarily?"
"I will buy it."
"Ah!" exclaimed Lupin in an access of mirth. "You are certainly an Englishman. You treat this as a matter of business."
"It is a matter of business."
"Well, what is your offer?"
"The liberty of Mademoiselle Destange."
"Her liberty? I didn't know she was under arrest."
"I will give Monsieur Ganimard the necessary information. When deprived of your protection, she can readily be taken."
Lupin laughed again and said, "My dear monsieur, you are offering me something you do not possess. Mademoiselle Destange is in a place of safety, and has nothing to fear. You must make me another offer."
The Englishman hesitated, visibly embarrassed and vexed.
Then, placing his hand on the shoulder of his adversary, he said,
"And if I should propose to you—"
"My liberty?"
"No, but I can leave the room to consult with Ganimard."
"And leave me alone?"
"Yes."
"Mon Dieu, what good would that be? The cursed mechanism will not work," said Lupin, at the same time savagely pushing the moulding of the mantle. He stifled a cry of surprise. This time, fortune favored him. The block of marble moved. It was his salvation, his hope of escape. In that event, why submit to the conditions imposed by Sholmes? He paced up and down the room, as if he were considering his reply. Then, in his turn, he placed his hand on the shoulder of his adversary, and said, "All things considered, Monsieur Sholmes, I prefer to do my own business in my own way."
"But—"
"No, I don't require anyone's assistance."
"When Ganimard gets his hands on you, it will be all over. You can't escape from them."
"Who knows?"
"Come, that is foolish. Every door and window is guarded."
"Except one."
"Which?"
"The one I will choose."
"Mere words. Your arrest is as good as made."
"Oh, no, not at all."
"Well?"
"I shall keep the blue diamond." Sholmes looked at his watch and said,
"It is now 10 minutes to 3. At 3 o'clock I shall call Ganimard."
"Well then, we have 10 minutes to chat. And to satisfy my curiosity, Monsieur Sholmes, I should like to know how you procured my address and my name of Felix Davy." Although his adversary's easy manner caused Sholmes some anxiety, he was willing to give Lupin the desired information, since it reflected credit on his professional astuteness. So he replied, "Your address? I got it from the blonde lady." "Clotilde?" "Herself. Do you remember, yesterday morning, when I wished to take her away in the automobile, she telephoned to her dressmaker?" "Well?" "Well, I understood later that you were the dressmaker, and last night on the boat, by exercising my memory, and my memory is something I have good reason to be proud of, I was able to recollect the last 2 figures of your telephone number, 73. Then, as I possessed a list of the houses you had improved, it was an easy matter, on my arrival in Paris at 11 o'clock this morning, to search the telephone directory and find there the name and address of Felix Davy. Having obtained that information, I asked the aid of Monsieur Ganimard." "Admirable! I congratulate you. But how did you manage to catch the 8 o'clock train at Havre? How did you escape the Swallow?" "I did not escape." "But—" "You ordered the captain not to reach Southampton before 1 o'clock. He landed me there at midnight. I was able to catch the 12 o'clock boat for Havre." "Did the captain betray me? I can't believe it." "No, he did not betray you." "Well, what then?" "It was his watch." "His watch?" "Yes, I put it ahead 1 hour." "How?" "The usual way, by turning the hands. We were sitting side by side talking, and I was telling him some funny stories. Why, he never saw me do it." "Bravo! A very clever trick. I shall not forget it. But the clock that was hanging on the wall of the cabin?" "Ah, the clock was a more difficult matter, as my feet were tied, but the sailor who guarded me during the captain's absence was kind enough to turn the hands for me." "He? Nonsense! He wouldn't do it." "Oh, but he didn't know the importance of his act. I told him I must catch the first train for London at any price, and he allowed himself to be persuaded." "By means of—" "By means of a slight gift, which the excellent fellow, loyal and true to his master, intends to send to you." "What was it?" "A mere trifle." "But what?" "The blue diamond." "The blue diamond?" "Yes, the false stone that you substituted for the Countess's diamond. She gave it to me." There was a sudden explosion of violent laughter. Lupin laughed until the tears started in his eyes. "Mon Dieu, but it is funny! My false diamond palmed off on my innocent sailor, and the captain's watch, and the hands of the clock!" Sholmes felt that the duel between him and Lupin was keener than ever. His marvelous instinct warned him that, behind his adversary's display of mirth, there was a shrewd intellect debating the ways and means to escape. Gradually, Lupin approached the Englishman, who recoiled, and unconsciously slipped his hand into his watch pocket. "It is 3 o'clock, Monsieur Lupin." 3 o'clock already? What a pity. We were enjoying our chat so much." "I am waiting for your answer." "My answer? Mon Dieu, but you are particular. And so, this is the last move in our little game, and the stake is my liberty." "Or the blue diamond." "Very well. It's your play. What are you going to do?" Ooh, man, a good cliffhanger here today. Just wait until you get chapter 2 here coming right at you next week. I am so stoked to be able to bring that to you. Stay tuned, make sure that you're subscribed wherever you're listening, and I'd love to hear from you. anotherworldaudiobooks@gmail.com. I love sending free audiobooks to listeners as well. If you see an audiobook in the Another World Audiobooks library that you'd like to listen to the full version of, I'd love to send that to you, so just get in touch with me. There's actually a form on the website you can fill out and request one of the audiobooks we've done, and I'd love to send that over to you for free as a thank you for listening. It just makes my day to know that we've got people all around the world listening to Another World Audiobooks. Super cool, and thank you guys so much. All right, let's hope this week goes by quickly, because part 2 is coming at you on next Sunday. See you then.